Okay, so you're in a second grade classroom. This is our third day in the unit, and so far we've learned to look in the first sentence for the main concept and the second sentence for the main concept. So now we're doing how to find it if it's not in one of those two sentences. Okay. So today we're going to work on finding main concepts again. Who can tell me what a main concept is? Kat.
The main point.
Yeah, the main point. Good. So it's the big idea in a reading. Rachel, can you tell me one of the two places that we look when we find it?
In the very first sentence.
In the very first sentence. Very good. So sometimes when we read the first sentence, we'll say exactly what the whole thing is about, and then we keep reading, and it just keeps talking about that, and that's what the main idea is. Do either of you know what the second place that we've learned to look is? Callie.
The last sentence.
The last sentence. So sometimes the last sentence wraps up whatever we've said or read while we were reading, and that's what the main idea is. So, reviewing, we already just did this, but the two places you look for a main idea are the beginning and the end of a passage. But what do you think we do if it's not in either of those places? Does anyone have any ideas?
You read in the middle.
You read in the middle. So what we're going to work on today is you're going to ask yourselves, what was this mostly about? And whatever it's mostly about, that's what your main idea is. So if it's not in one of those two places, that's the third thing you would do. So our learning target is today we'll be able to learn, or we will learn how to find a main concept. If the author does not state it, we will ask ourselves, what is this mostly about? So let's read it together. Today we will learn how to find a main concept if the author does not state it. We will ask ourselves, what is this mostly about? Good. Okay, so we're gonna work on it. I'm gonna do one and show you how I would do it. Then you guys will help me do one, and then you'll get to do one by yourselves. So I'm gonna read this passage out loud, and then I'm gonna figure out what the main idea is. So it says, I get home every day and watch TV after school. Today after school, I watched a movie. The movie was about a man who found out he had a brother. He hadn't ever met his brother before. His brother was really nice, and they became best friends. They went on trips together across the country. The brother was named John, and the man was named David. They did lots of things together and acted like they knew each other forever. It was a really good movie, and I would watch it again. I wish I could have watched more instead of doing my homework. So, I'm looking for the main idea. So the first place we learn to look is the first sentence. The first sentence says, I get home every day and watch TV after school. But I know that the whole passage wasn't just about getting home and turning the TV on and just watching TV. It wasn't about actually coming home from school every day. So I know that's not the main idea. Next place I would look is the last sentence. So I wish I could have watched more instead of doing my homework. Was it about doing our homework? No, it wasn't about doing our homework. So that's not the main idea either. So now, like we talked about, I'm going to look in the middle and see what it was mostly about. So if I ask myself, what was this mostly about, I would know that it's about what happened in the movie. So the main idea for this one is what happened in the movie. Does that make sense how we got to that? Okay, so let's try to do one together. All right, I'll read this one, then we can work through it. I had lots of fun this weekend. This weekend I bought a hedgehog. His name is George. He's only 9 weeks old, so he's just a baby. He really likes me and likes to take naps on my lap. He lives in a gray tote that has a screen on the top. The screen lets him breathe when he's in there. He has 4 legs and 2 eyes and a nose. His belly is furry and really soft. His back is not soft though, it has spines. They're similar to the quills on a porcupine. If he is scared, he puffs them up and rolls into a ball to protect himself, but most of the time they lay flat so you can pet him. I like George. He is really cute. This was the best weekend ever. Okay? So, Rachel, can you read me the first sentence?
I had lots of fun this weekend.
Do you think the first sentence is the main idea?
No,
Can you tell me why that's not the main idea?
because it doesn't talk about the hedgehog.
Right, it doesn't talk about the hedgehog. So it's not talking about all of the fun you had the whole weekend. So that is not the main idea. Kelly, can you read me the last sentence?
This was the best weekend ever.
Yeah, and do you think that was the main idea?
No.
No, do you know why?
It was a fun weekend, but it was fun because you got the hedgehog.
Right, so it doesn't actually talk about the hedgehogs. Now, both of you said that the first and last sentence didn't talk about the hedgehog. Just click on it. Is it still going?
No.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Okay.
So both of you talked about the hedgehog. And the first sentence and the last sentence don't talk about the hedgehog at all. So how did you figure out that this was about the hedgehog? Who knows?
Because of all the stuff in the middle, it talked about the hedgehog.
Right, and what are some of the things that we learned about the hedgehog?
That he's just a baby.
He's just a baby. Rachel, can you say a couple things we learned about the hedgehog?
That his belly is furry, but the back is tough.
Right. So we know that the main idea is that we learned about the hedgehog because that's what it was mostly about. So we have to remember always to ask ourselves that question. So to wrap up, when we're finding the main concept, what's the first thing we do?
Check the first sentence.
Check the first sentence. So sometimes the first sentence tells us exactly what it's going to be about. Rachel, what's the second place we check?
Check the last sentence.
Right, and the last sentence wraps up whatever we're doing, so sometimes that is what it was. And if it's not, why don't we all say what this question is that we ask ourselves? Ready? What is this mostly about? So we have to always remember to ask ourselves that question when we're looking for the main idea. So now everyone's going to go back to your seat. Well, you're both going to go back to your seats. And there's a handout that has another short passage on it. It's a paragraph. And you're going to read it. And on the bottom, there's a couple questions and lines. And you're going to write what the main idea is. And when you're done, you're going to raise your hand. And when I come over, you're going to explain to me how you find the main idea. Okay?